studio time check, 34 minutes past 6 a.m. Today, June 12, 2025. Of course, the importance of, the date of today is not lost on many Nigerians. Good morning to you. Thank you for tuning to Wells Radio 89.3 FM, your preferred wholesome radio, your number one family radio in the whole of all your state. This is where we bring you wholesome content that is suitable for every single member of your family. It's a wonderful morning today, and the program is Perspectives Unlimited, where we're taking a look at headlines and stories making the rounds across the different dailies in Nigeria. We'll talk about the stories, we'll go beyond the news to help you make sense of the stories you see on the dailies. That's what we're doing here on Perspectives Unlimited. My name is Bolanle Oduekun-Ayoola, and this morning I'm here to, of course, host or anchor and bring you these headlines. Now, Wells Radio is broadcasting live from the Wells Broadcasting House, which is located along Alafin Avenue, Oluyole Estate, Ibadan. That's where we're broadcasting live from. You can also be a part of the conversation this morning by following us on our Facebook fan page, Wells Radio 893 FM fan page. So all you just have to do is go to our fan page, Wells Radio 893 FM fan page, and like, follow, and also share our posts. We are live and you're able to watch us. Additionally, you can find us on YouTube, Wells Radio 89.3 FM, and you can also find us on our website. So you can listen directly via our website if you're not in Ibadan or if you're not in your state. All you have to do is just go to our website, www.wellsradio893.com. That's www.wellsradio893.com. Additionally, you can find us on a couple of radio directories. We're available on radiogarden.com, onlineradiobox.net, and so on and so forth. So you're able to listen to us via all of those radio directories. This morning, it's time for Perspectives Unlimited, and I have our analyst in the studio, Mr. Olalekan Sani, this morning. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, madam.
How do you do?
I'm doing well. How about you?
We give glory to God. Today is June 12, 2025.
I wasn't expecting that type of energy from you. I thought it was going to be, it's a great day because it's Democracy Day in Nigeria.
Definitely. Today is June 12, Democracy Day in Nigeria, which, initially used to be May 29, but sometime around 2018 was changed to June 12, basically to commemorate the restoration of democracy in Nigeria, also to sort of mark the elections that were annulled, where the rightful winner, as we've been told, was late Chief MKO Abiola. And so today is that day again. And before we get to the headlines, or let me just take the headlines so we can see what, the pulse is this morning before we actually discuss Democracy Day. Now, the Punch newspaper has the headline, Democracy Day tension. Protesters mobilize as Tinubu addresses NAS. Protesters target NAS complex, Eagle Square, and others. Security on high alert nationwide. Police talk tough. And organizers vow to rally against hardships and insecurity. That's on page 2 of the Punch newspaper this morning. June 12, Nigeria Cybercrimes Act threatens free speech investment. Free speech and investment. That's from US and UK envoys. That's on page 7. 3 decades after Abiola, has Nigeria betrayed June 12? That's on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. More headlines. This one says 6 vehicles burnt, traffic paralyzed in Lagos, Ibadan tanker explosion. That was really, really bad. I saw the video yesterday. That's on pages 4 and 5. Air rage, or Shomole, air peace in fiery showdown. That's on page 25. Amechi slams Tinubu's policies in fresh outburst. That's on page 30. Floods ravage 180 farms across 30 states. Sorry, it's on page 26 of the Punch newspaper this morning. More headlines. Blackout alert. Federal government commences crucial grid servicing. That's on page 26. And finally, 2027. Wike teases opposition. Tinubu courts minister for APC. That's on page 29 of the Punch newspaper. On the front page of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, Tinubu to Wike, we will welcome you to APC whenever you decide. That's on page 5 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. More headlines. June 12 anniversary. Oduekun-Ayoola governors Shehu Sani Ezekwesili, Falana, Agbakoba, others to hold tribute session at MKO's Ikeja residence. All right, that's on page 10 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. More headlines. Another 27 killed in Plateau communities. Terrorists have taken over 30 hectares of farmland. Plateau lawmaker raises alarm. That's on page 15 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. More headlines. Federal government cancels June 12 Democracy Day parade. As Tinubu addresses joint NAS session today. That's on page 2. Yes, page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. We'll also have here credibility of 2027 election already at stake. Nigeria drifting towards one-party system. That's from TMG. Says fair competition that defines democracy threatened. All right. On the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, the lead headline says blackout in Northeast. Residents, business owners count losses. That's on the front page. Continued on pages 6 and 7. More headlines. Hajj, 11 states spend 6.2 billion naira on pilgrims. We see this, what June 12 means to us from citizens. More headlines. Fubara, lawmakers emoluments in Rivers, 1.48 trillion naira budget. That's from IBAS. Exclusion of North from infrastructure funding, unacceptable. That's from the NEF. Taking more headlines this morning. On the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, the lead headline says 32 years after June 12, democracy declining under APC. That's from ACF, PDP, Afenifere, Ohaneze, and others. Insecurity, police arrest 42 armed herders, bandits over Benue attacks. That's on page 6 this morning. Court strikes out Akpabio's appeal against Natasha, awards 100,000 naira against him. That story is on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. And we see here, no final decision on $5 billion oil-backed loan from Saudi Aramco. That's from the federal government. That story came out yesterday and it's on page 20 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Now, today's June 12th, Democracy Day in Nigeria. Let's take a look at some of the things that have happened between the last Democracy Day and today. Well, we must, of course, first define democracy. So, Mr. Sani, can you help us this morning with what democracy should be?
There are over 1 billion definitions of democracy, but the most prominent of them is democracy is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. That is it.
All right, so that means a people-led government with policies that show that the people are indeed in charge through their appointed leadership.
Elected.
Elected leadership. Thank you. Now, in July, the Supreme Court, that's July last year, the Supreme Court affirmed the autonomy of Nigeria's 774 local government councils by upholding the local government's authority to manage their budgets, amongst other things. That's not the only thing, but that's one of the most paramount things, without the interference of the state government, because we're originally supposed to have 3 tiers of government, which is the federal government, the state government, and the local government. The Senate also introduced a bill that will create a national independent local government electoral commission to oversee the local government elections and combat meddling by state-level political leaders. And where are we on that, Mr. Sani?
We are nowhere. The Supreme Court in July of last year said state governments have no business whatsoever with local government allocations, that the federal government should be releasing the allocations to the respective local governments. But it appears there is more of politics in this than jurisprudence, because the federal government through the CBN is asking for what local governments cannot deliver. For years now, they have not had access to their allocations. But the CBN is asking them to go and bring 2 years audited report. How do you bring audited report?
So they should be asking the state governments to bring that instead.
That is the point. And in all seriousness, there is nothing whatsoever that concerns the federal government, at least in terms of the Office of the Accountant General and the CBN, with how local governments spend their money. It is their money.
So does this mean that state governments are not required to submit things like that before they get the allocation?
That is the point. Nobody asks state governments to submit an audited report before they get the allocations. Even the federal government itself, it is not submitting its own audited report to the state governors or local government chairman. So what audacity do they have for them to say, go and bring an auditor? It shows clearly that they do not want to give them the money. That is the truth of the matter. The president is playing politics here. And in all seriousness, it is unfortunate because save the military, save defense and economy, almost everything we are talking about is domiciled in the local government. Access roads, local markets, everything. And if you have strangled that, there is absolutely no way that country can develop. Most of the things that are happening in foreign countries are happening at the local level. But here, their resources are being shared by the federal and state government. And it should not be. It just should not be. Without that, we can't go far. That's just
all right. Thank you, sir. Moving on quickly, gubernatorial elections were held in Edo State, Ondo State in September and November, respectively. And we had candidates from the ruling All Progressives Party winning both contests. Some people, observers, have alleged that the elections in Edo State featured a number of irregularities, including allegations of vote buying and violence that disrupted the counting process. Additionally, many protesters were arrested or detained, and more than 20 people killed during the nationwide demonstrations that were organized under the hashtag End Bad Governance in August and September. This is last year. And basically what the protests were calling for was lower taxes, reduced salaries for politicians, and judicial reforms. How far do you say, or how far will you say we have come, on the demands of these protesters?
We have not done anything again. That's unfortunate. What these people are asking for are totally legitimate. Everybody knows too well that in Nigeria today, a sizable chunk of what we are earning as a country goes to the politicians, which is not supposed to be so. And Nigerians are saying, instead of spending so much money on politicians, why don't you spend the money on us, the real owners of the money? And in response, the federal government, through the Nigeria police, decided to open fire on people asking for their fair share of the national cake. That is criminal, in my opinion. And let's now talk about the elections. In all seriousness, I will not blame INEC for what happened in Ondo. INEC didn't rig there. That's just the truth of the matter. It was a case of we want to buy votes. And the people of Ondo said, we are going to sell our votes. And the results are there. The structure of governance in Ondo State right now is dead. That's just the truth of the matter. And in all seriousness, everyone forgive me, I have no sympathy for Ondo people. But Edo was a clear case of electoral theft. We were seeing what was coming from the polling units. A certain party was leading. In fact, the lead was unassailable. There was no way the two other parties could meet them. And all of a sudden, at the point of collation, the figures began to change. And it was like, what exactly are you guys doing? They were trying to buy votes at a rate of 50,000 naira per vote, but people still didn't sell their votes. And INEC mysteriously altered the figures. It's not my words, it's the words of everybody. Even Peter Obi, the national leader of the president candidate of the Labour Party in the past election, said, everybody knows who won Edo election. It wasn't my party, and it's clearly not the APC. He didn't want to say it was the PDP, but he said it was not my party. And three major contenders were in the race. And it's unfortunate that our judiciary is also putting a stamp on this illegality because they have gone through the electoral tribunal, which is the first port of call, and it was APC victory. The same thing at the appeal court level. The Supreme Court, I don't have a bit of faith in them, but you never can tell. I just hope and pray they do what is right by giving the seat to PDP, which is the rightful winner.
All right, thank you so much, sir. Now, under the definition we started with of democracy, Nigerians generally have the right to organize themselves in different political parties, to participate in these political parties, to ensure that there's proper opposition and leadership in the country. Now, we had 91 registered parties and 73 presidential candidates in 2019, which was the largest number since the 1999 transition to democracy. Now, INEC removed 74 parties from the register in 2020. They cited their inability to win the support of a sufficient number of voters and lack of representation nationwide. For political parties, we have realized over time that a lack of internal party democracy and structure, as well as high fees, have made it so difficult for prospective candidates, to vie for major party nominations or to mount strong independent campaigns. An example of what we saw with the PDP in the last elections, which, have probably caused the division. But now, even more than ever, many people have said that Nigeria is drifting towards a one-party state system where we see politicians who are supposed to be, in the major opposition parties and checkmate the current ruling party, defecting in droves, flocking over to the current ruling party, that's the All Progressives Congress. Is Nigeria headed towards a one-party state? And if Nigeria is headed towards a one-party state, what will the future look like?
Let's start from the PDP in 2023. I am yet to see what the party did wrong in the last presidential election. People were contesting. A certain candidate was defeated. He wanted to be the running mate of the presidential candidate, but the presidential candidate chose another person from the geopolitical zone of the person who was defeated at that particular point in time.
I think the real issue with the PDP in the last elections was the initial factor of the, whoever the party was going to put forward as their presidential candidate was supposed to come from a particular, region.
That was not part of the agreement. And I have made that analysis here times and times over.
Okay.
Look at the number of years that these two regions have occupied the office of the president from this particular party. Under the PDP, a certain region has only had a share of 3 years, and the other side has had at least 14 years. You can see the disparity. And in the last election, it was still a case of, it should have gone to the side that has produced presidents who have spent 14 years against the side that has. It's all politics here, and let's not fall into the antics of. Let's not fall for the antics of politicians, especially those who have lost the election. Now, everybody's going to the APC. I won't say every Nigerian is going to the APC. I would rather say every desperate, every hungry, every crooked Nigerian politician is going to the APC. And I said crooked because a particular former chairman who was acting like a tout yesterday of the APC said that once you leave your party and you come to the APC, all your sins are forgiven. He has come out to deny that, but I have the video where he said it. He said it at a rally in 2019 that if you leave the APC and if you leave your party and you join the APC, our party, your sins are forgiven. And let's go to Delta State. The former governor of Delta State was called by the EFCC to come and tell the world how he spent 1.1 trillion naira that they think went the other way. And the next thing we saw was that this guy went to the APC, and since then nobody is saying anything about the 1.1 trillion naira again. So it shows that Adam Oshiomhole actually meant what he said then. So for me, if people like Eno, you know what is happening in Akwa Ibom State, not even Akwa Ibom State, within Eno's family. His daughter accused him of sacrificing their mother, his wife. And he told him point blank that mommy could have been a sacrificial lamb, but I am not. You cannot use me.
So he did come out to.
He said it's politics, and which is foolish in my opinion. Something in your family, your home biological daughter is accusing you of rituals, and you are saying it's politics. No, that's not making sense to me. It shows clearly that there is a particular type of people. I mean, there are some things that you must have gone to a particular level of low before you can say you want to join that party, and that is what we are saying left, right, and center. I have been saying it times and times and times and times and times that 2027 is not going to be about political parties. It's going to be about if Nigerians are happy with their current state or they feel like they deserve more. If they are happy with what they are getting right now, they know the party to vote for.
So let's move to the question of what happens if, a country becomes a one-party state?
If a country becomes a one-party state...
And is it even possible?
It is possible. It is possible. The truth of the matter is that should this party remain in office beyond 2027 at the center, it's likely that Nigeria may become, not on paper, but in reality and technically, Nigeria may become a one-party state.
Now, we'll take a short break soon, but before we do that, now, the House of Assembly, the Senate, I believe, at some point raised the possibility of, a 6-year single term, for certain officials. What's your take on that?
They have actually said they are no longer doing that, but I don't believe in it. And the reason why I don't believe in it is that 6 years is a lot of years. If you have a president who is doing well, there should be the door of saying, okay, let's commend you, let's give you another term so that you can continue to do what you are doing. But if it's somebody who is not doing well, instead of having an opportunity to change that person within 4 years, then you'll have to wait for 6 years, and a lot of things would have gone wrong by then. Everywhere in the world, it's always about, okay, you have done well, do it again, and if you're not done well, go home.
Let's even take a look at other African countries where we have seen presidential reigns that have turned into monarchy, where the presidents have just refused to leave.
The question is there democracy in Africa? There are just a handful of countries practicing democracy in Africa. South Africa, Ghana, and maybe Kenya. Aside these three, I'm struggling.
And Nigeria.
Nigeria is no longer a democracy. This has become a tragedy. As a result of the matter. Because democracy without an upward improvement in the standard of living is clear tragedy. That is it.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Sani. Let's get to the headlines making the rounds across the different dailies in the country before we take our short break. The protesters have mobilized because the president is going to address the National Assembly. Let's not forget that yesterday afternoon, we got information that the president was going to address Nigerians via a broadcast at 7 a.m. And yesterday, around some minutes past 8, we then got a counter information that, the president wasn't going to address us anymore at 7. Let's just wait till noon when he would address the NAS. This is probably the first of its kind, and also no Democracy Day parade. What does this also say to democracy?
No Democracy Day parade is a good way to avoid embarrassment, because Nigerians are becoming agitated and the government can never predict what the people are going to do. Some people have said that they are going to protest at the Eagle Square, where the Democracy Day parade
also at the
National Assembly. So I think the president is trying to avoid an embarrassment. That's for that. As regards not addressing Nigerians this morning, I see that as, two things. Number one, extreme laziness on the part of the president. He doesn't want to speak in the morning and still speak in the afternoon. That's number one. Number two is that he doesn't really care about Nigerians, and he's not making any attempt to hide that. You have two opportunities. Number one is to speak directly to Nigerians. Number two is to speak to politicians, legislators in the National Assembly. And you're saying you'd rather speak to legislators instead of speaking to Nigerians. I mean, it's a slap on our face. since I was born, this is the first time we will be having such a day, and the president is not going to be addressing the people directly. What presidents usually do on this particular day is to, roll out what they have done, especially in the area of rule of law, entrenching democracy, freedom of rights, and stuff like that. But, in all seriousness, what exactly can the president lay claim to in the last 1 year, if not for the police arresting anybody that looks like someone who is against the president and slamming cyber crime act on them? I mean, it's not fair. And in all seriousness, you can't blame the president. If you have done something good, you boldly and courageously walk out and say, okay, this is what we really. I mean, let me put this to you for the first time. You have really been asking me questions all these years. Let me ask you this question this morning. If you were to be the president's handler, what exactly would you tell him to come and tell Nigerians this morning as regards entrenching democracy in Nigeria?
All right, I'll think about answering that question when we come back from the break. Please, it's Perspectives Unlimited on Wells Radio FM. We'll take a short break